Good day, this is E.T. in my outdoor studio. Beautiful outdoor studio I've got here, surrounded by yellow flowers. It's very pretty. I wish I could show you it. It's the thing about climate change, which the discussion on climate change is so limited. It always gets into the point of fear. We must fear it. Why must we fear climate change? Why are politicians and celebrities creating a mass fear about something that is basically a natural event, even though humans are involved? Humans are part of the natural cycle of this planet. What celebrities are doing and politicians are doing and all sorts of other people are doing is trying to separate humans from the natural carbon cycle, which doesn't make sense. That's making the climate change a sort of religious event. Like Brian Cox said, leave it to the experts. Well, that's what an imam is to a Muslim, an expert on the Quran. And he says how it is and everyone must obey him. Now, what an expert is on climate or how to deal with it cannot be determined, because there are many different philosophies in the world outside of the West that may have a different view on climates per se. There are people still struggling to come to terms with materialism in places in Africa, in the Pacific, in small islands, who live in very poor conditions and have not yet gained the benefits that the people in the West have, who have now got the luxury of the time and space. They don't have to worry about making an income, they don't have to worry about somewhere to live or a roof over their head, and they've got all this time and space then to concern themselves about something that in reality no one wants to speak about in any way that makes sense. As an evolutionist, which I am, and Brian Cox said he understands evolution, which I doubt, because in evolution it is a sort of a survival of the fittest, although that's a very primitive way of looking at it. But nonetheless, climate change, if it is a problem, let's admit climate change is a problem. In Australia particularly, because we get droughts and floods. Nothing's going to change, we're still going to get droughts and floods. But if we know, what is the point? The question is, what is the point of knowing a climate is changing, but not acting, say, to make sure the food supply is assured locally, so we reduce the transport costs, etc. That's the sort of thinking that's required, because it's an economic one. All evolution and adaptation is through economics. And what the politicians have done, they've put up the price of electricity to pay for wind and solar with very little effect upon the climate, because it's only 1 or 2% of the whole energy use of the world. But they've made a massive effect upon the economies of the people. You have to say, what is the point of that? In the end, those in the productive jobs, which will be going because of robots, will be most affected by these policies. That's why universities are creating people who are compliant, dare not question. Dare not question people like Brian Cox. We must listen to an expert. Who is an expert? No one can say. Because to tackle climate change globally, well, it's maybe a nice unifying thing for humanity to do. But survival as an individual thing, and it's far better sometimes. It may help survive in the mob, but where is the mob taking you? Better think for yourself if you want to survive through any changes and adaptation. But nonetheless, the most important thing It is a localized solution. A localized solution everywhere on earth then creates a global solution. Think locally, think locally, think globally, it's been said before, is logical. It makes no sense for a country to make itself broke like Australia is, putting a few windmills up when it's such a small percentage of the overall carbon dioxide emissions, when it's now costing it so much in deficit it can no longer afford productive employments, or to grow that, which produces productive employments, and therefore is creating for itself an exponential and endless deficit that it has no answer for. Either the people who are these experts in what? Experts in rhetoric and twisting the tail to suit the politics, to enrich themselves regardless of the cost to those who follow like sheep or don't get it. Who's going to provide the houses for the poor in the future? Who's going to provide the warmth and the comfort? How is that produced? How is air conditioning afforded? All those things are surely, if the climate's going to be changing, surely they're primary consideration before anything else. Trying to change the climate, or trying to change humanity, when there's 200 different types of nations and cultures on earth, to unify them into one, it sounds like a religious idea to me, and that's what Cox said and what he meant when he said leave it to the experts. He's talking in a religious sense and not a scientific sense. Thank you. This is E.T. in my lovely outdoor studio.